Hello there folks, today we're gonna take a look at the game called Dare to Love. It's published by Mizo and the designer is Chih-Fan Chen. Dare to Love is about the oppression of homosexuals, and in this game the emperor, oligarch, whatever, they have put the loved ones in the prison, and the heroes of the story want to save their loved ones. So let's take a look at how the game works. So Dare to Love is played over the course of 13 rounds or until the heroes destroy all the prisons, all 3 prisons, and take down Overlord as well. Now, how is the game played? First of all, you will choose the heroes, and there are different ones over here. As you can see, the priest and apostates and rebel soldier and prince. And then there will be one Overlord player, using either Tycoon or Grand Inquisitor or the Emperor. And then let's say they use Tycoon, and each one will get their own deck of cards because all the characters are different. So the Overlord player will have all their cards in the hands from the start. The other players, let's say I'm gonna take so as you can see there are all the different decks from different colors. I'm gonna take the Prince for now, and as you can see the characters have some cards as well with the numbers and some abilities and so on, but the characters also have mana cards in their decks because their abilities activate, some of the abilities activate through mana as well. So you will shuffle all of that, you will grab 4 cards and start playing. So everyone will choose 1 card from their hand simultaneously. You can choose the mana, and then you will all reveal, and based on the number here, the highest number starts first and then goes to the lowest number. Each player will get to perform their card. So what we have on the cards over here, so for example this one is the movement. That means with each movement you move 1 square, 1 hex, let's say. And the shield over here means that you can let the attacker reroll 1 hit. It's not an automatic defense. And everything else like that, for example, if there is a melee or range or something like that, if there's that kind of a symbol, that means that you get to roll 2 dice. You want to get melee, and you have a range of 2, and then you also draw 2 cards. And let's say if there's something else I can show you this is all about melee, but some of the characters have range as well. I can show you the dice. So you have a range symbol, you need to roll the range. So this is like a critical hit kinda, and this symbol cancels all the hits, or not all the hits, but 1 hit per that rolled. Now, let's say everyone chooses a card, you will move. If you get to attack, you roll a bunch of dice. If there was 3 and you need to get to melee, you roll those dice and see what happens. And then, for example, if I had to get the melee, I can see I can get 2 melee. 1 is range, but I need to get the melee, so I will inflict 2 hits on the opponent. So the game goes until we destroy all the prisons as heroes and kill the Overlord, or Overlord kills us, or the 13 rounds will end. Then the Overlord wins automatically. Destroying the prisons is really easy because you go to this spot over here where there are arrows, and you hit those prisons with the same usual attack that you would do with your cards, and then for each damage you inflict, you take out these crystals from here, and when it's empty, you have destroyed the prison, and there will be 3 prisoner cards on top of it there, and they correspond to the 3 characters that were chosen for the game, and these are their lovers or friends or daughters and so on. If you will destroy one of the prisons, you will grab one of these cards and then give it to the corresponding character, and you can get some extra benefits from that. For example, the prince regains 2 HP, or the knight regains 1 HP, and from now on his hand limit increases by 1 to 5 cards, for example. From now on, all the critical hits cards are regarded as melee, and so on. So you have all these different abilities, and you will fight each other on this kind of a small arena, trying to destroy prisons and such. Also, at the beginning of the game, each player will get a talent card. This is a one-time use per game, and it says when to play. For example, play before an opponent takes actions, and then specify 2 empty spaces on the board. Your opponent cannot stop or pass through those spaces this round. And it's basically, you will reveal those cards, you will use those cards, and they're gone. Like one-time powerful abilities. For example, change a this is kind of a cancellation of the hit rolling result to a critical hit. Or if you spend mana this turn, you may move 1 step for each mana you spend before you take actions. And there are quite a few talents. Each one will get 1 talent, and that's so on. You will go in through the game trying to beat the boss and trying to get the prisoners, using the talents to the best you can. Also going to show you the Overlord's cards. They work a little bit differently. So because the Overlord doesn't have any mana, and Overlord has all the cards in their hands, and they have these symbols over here, like +1 discarded cards, or +2 or +3. That means, for example, for this card to be played, they need to have already 1 card played before and discarded. So +3 cards discarded. Some cards don't need that conditions. For example, if the first card was played was 16, then now they can play +1 discarded cards actions because they have 1 card discarded already. So that's how the Overlord deck works, and that's how you play Dare to Love. So when we talk about the components and the artwork, I'm not the biggest fan of that kind of anime style art, Japanese style art, but I mean it works. It's still pretty, it's still nice. It's not too abstract, and it gives this kind of a fantasy style to it. And if we talk about the components, the cards are on a thin side. I don't like that much, and they're maybe too glossy for me. I like the linen finish more on the cards, but the overall production is nice. The crystals, the board, and the board maybe is a little bit too boring looking, but there is the dice tower as well, and those dice, the black dice with the kind of a golden foil on them or something like that, the engravements. That's all. I think that the overall looks nice, so it's definitely pro, yes, for the components and art. And the art is, let's say, a matter of taste, and even if I don't like it, I'm rather objective on this matter, so I give components and artwork 4 out of 5. If we go to the theme, now the theme of this game is about the oppression of homosexual, and I mean this one looks like arena combat, and these like arena combat. There are heroes and there's that overlord, and you fight each other. You use different abilities, and you kind of feel like the fantasy, and you feel the difference in decks for the overlord. There are several overlords, and for different heroes, you kind of feel the difference and the symmetry in that, and there are some thematic powers kinda, but you don't really feel the whole theme going on there. You're just kind of fighting in the arena, and that's where it could be anything. Yeah, you're destroying those prisons, and then the loved ones will start helping you, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's a little bit too fantasy. It's overblown as a theme. I'm not talking about the oppression itself. It just, I don't feel the whole theme in this game, but a little bit of that theme comes through the art, through the story in the rulebook, and through some of the powers. So I'll give the theme 3 out of 5. If we go to the mechanics, that's where the biggest problem begins. So this game is based on that arena combat and dice, which adds to the random. I like the aspect of choosing 1 card from your hand and then revealing all simultaneously, and based on whoever has whatever number will activate first, and so on. Which is nice. I like that overlay. It's outsmarting, outguessing, which I usually like in games. This one is also cooperative, where we try to. I mean, the problem with this one though is that we played cooperative game against the oligarch, and maybe my ability will trigger before yours, but it should be better if yours triggers before mine, and so on. But it's all based on the numbers, so sometimes it gets in the way. The other thing I don't like is the hand limit. So basically, you have a small deck of cards overly for your hero, which I already don't like. I want to have a bigger deck and maybe more duplicates of the same card, but it will give less random feel to that. So the cards, some of the cards, and especially is the cool abilities that you want to activate through those shard cards. You need to have those cards. You have that certain amount of cards in the deck, 3 cards, and one card needs 3 shards to activate, so the maximum number of shards. So you have to play whatever cards you want and just to wait till your hand of 4 cards is filled with 3 those shard whatever mana cards, and 1 card with that special ability that uses those 3 cards. And it doesn't feel like the choices that you make during the game. I mean, like, you are trying to get that really cool ability, and then when you get it, it's done, and then you try to collect those shards again. I just didn't like the whole mechanic of those, I call them shards, but they're basically the mana cards. I don't like the whole mana cards mechanic, because it just feels too restricted, too random, because if I really want to activate that card, I'm gonna use up quite a few turns in order to get my hand of 4 cards to these 4 exact cards. And that's not interesting. So that's that. So the oligarch player, the emperor player, the overlord, let's say, feels too overpowered because they have really cool abilities. And by the way, if we have a certain amount of cards in hand, the overlord has all the cards in their hand. They have restrictions how to activate them as well. But as a feeling, it feels much better to have more options. Even if I have restrictions on some of those options, it kind of feels better. It's just the feeling itself that I want to get in this game. But also, there are 3 prisons that you need to destroy based on the luck of the dice. Boom. Then you need to kick the oligarch based on the luck of the dice. So overall, if the oligarch player is very unlucky with the dice, and we had that game. That player was very unlucky with the dice as an overlord. And we were very lucky with the dice as players, and we still lost. I feel like it's impossible to win the game. It's not balanced. The overlord is just too powerful. I feel like there are too many lives given to overlords. And the restriction of the rounds, you have 13 rounds total. I feel like this restriction was put in the game just to have kind of a clock in the game, you know, so there would be a certain amount of play time. But that restricts, I mean, like, that restriction just doesn't work, because it feels like we need to rush and we need to confront, and then we try to beat, and if we get few unlucky rolls, we're done. And halfway through the game, I can already see that it will be impossible to win the game. And if you see that halfway through as a cooperative game, it just feels annoying, and you still play the game till the end, because I don't like to, cancel the game in between. But yeah, that's underbalanced and not balanced card decks and things and so on. I feel like this ruins the whole cooperative experience against Overlord. And so I give mechanics and all those restrictions and randomness in it. So I give mechanics 2 out of 5. I like the asymmetry of decks. I like that there are different heroes and different oligarchs, but the mechanics themselves just don't work. So let's go to replayability, and as I told you, there are several heroes, so it kind of adds to replayability. There is the Overlord, and there are several Overlords which add to replayability. And there is a symmetry how the Overlord activates its cards and how the heroes activate their cards. There's the difference, so it kind of adds to the replayability, as you can play as Overlord, you can play as hero, and you can learn those decks and blah blah. But as I told you, because the decks themselves are rather small, so you'll basically do almost the same things all the time, and the board itself, it doesn't really change. The prisons are in the same spot, you start from the same spot, the oligarch starts from the same spot. It's a small arena, so it's kind of like a pit fight thing, and it just takes away from replayability. Although really cool that you have those different heroes, it's just not enough in those mechanics. Look, this is once again, the mechanics get in the way of replayability as well, in my opinion. So I give replayability. There is still some within different asymmetric decks. So I'll give replayability 3 out of 5. And the scale, this game plays 3 or 4 players. And now with 3 players, the Overlord gets less HP. But the thing is that I would never play with 3 players, because then the 2 players are heroes and 1 player is the oligarch. Because the amount of the obstacles, let's say, as enemies, 3 prisons that you need to destroy plus 1 Overlord character, is the same as with 4 players. And it's much easier to concentrate on different things and kind of spread out and feel as doing a cooperative game in a when you have 3 heroes and 1 Overlord, so in a 4-player game. Because with just 3 players, the 2 heroes, one goes that way, the other one goes that way, you cannot aid each other, or you go together but then you concentrate only on one thing, and the Overlord can totally concentrate on you, and that just adds to the unbalanced nature of the game. While with 3 players, the Overlord cannot concentrate on all 3 players, on all 3 heroes, and somebody will destroy prisons while the Overlord go kick the other 2 and so on. So there is a little bit better balance with 4 players, so I definitely recommend it with 4. You can play with 3 players, but it doesn't work that well. So I give the scale 2.5 out of 5. And so the overall score is 14.5 out of 25. It's not a bad idea, and a little bit a pit fight, but it feels very restrictive with its very imbalanced and random nature. And so it's like, it's not, let's say, hit or miss. I mean, this game is just somewhere in the middle. I wouldn't say it's like totally bad game. I've played games that I hate. I don't hate this game, but this game doesn't work for me. It's fun to do some things in the game, but if you don't care about not winning for most of the game, if you're the hero, if you really like those very let's say very lucky and very difficult co-op games, then you might like some aspects of the game. But yeah, it's just not for me, and I cannot really recommend this game. There are better co-op games out there with the Overlords. So that's Dare to Love, and thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, all of those links are in the description below, and we see you in yet another video. Bye bye. This channel is sponsored by Osprey Games. Check them out at ospreypublishing.com.